Monroe County Community School Corporation unveiled new COVID guidelines this week to make it easier for students and staff to return to school after a positive test. But as Mitch Legan reports, some parents say the guidelines make it more difficult to send their children back.
Navigating the pandemic has been stressful for many parents, but perhaps none more than Brittany Burton.
When you guys think about lockdown for our family before COVID, we were already on a mild lockdown as is.
Burton has 4 children, all enrolled in MCCSC. Her second oldest, Abigail, has a rare form of epilepsy that requires special attention even under normal circumstances.
I've seen Abby, unfortunately, already on a vent 3 times throughout her life due to her disability because she has Dravet syndrome. So any virus, slight little change in temperature can cause pretty dramatic, uncontrollable seizures.
Burton kept her kids online and at home since the start of the pandemic. Once vaccines were available, she felt comfortable sending the other 3 to school. But once the highly transmissible Omicron variant hit, she pulled them back home. And the recent changes to MCCSC's COVID protocols make her wonder when they should return.
It's definitely going to impact our decision making because we have to keep her safe.
Monroe County schools changed their COVID protocols this week. The new rules are intended to make it easier for students and teachers to return to school. But one of the changes is to stop reporting cases directly to parents. The district had provided a weekly COVID report to parents, breaking down the number of cases by school. Burton used those metrics to pull her kids out earlier this month.
All that's adaptable, but being refused data, at least something. We got to have something to go on, especially for parents like me.
School case numbers will still be provided to the state, but Burton is concerned about inconsistent updates to the state dashboard, and the data for all the schools won't be in one place. IU epidemiologist Anna Bento questions the changes at the time the county and school system are reporting hundreds of new cases.
Not sharing information with parents is dangerous, and also not just for that said parent, but actually for the community at large.
April Hennessy was the only school board member to vote against the changes. She echoed Burton's concerns that if they wanted to make it easier for students to return, they shouldn't make it harder for parents to get information. But she says those numbers have become increasingly hard to track.
The body's required to do that kind of contact tracing, to provide that kind of data, to sort of track all of that stuff. It takes a lot of time and energy and effort. So I don't think that it's necessarily that they don't want to. I just think that the district itself is just kind of strapped at this point.
Burton would feel more comfortable sending her kids back when the nearby hospitals open up a bit, in case Abigail needs to get treatment. But the lack of communication and data from the school system make her question their grasp on the virus.
That, in general, just tells me that we have no idea what's been going on with Omicron in the schools.
I know that the district is tracking data on a daily basis, right? Like in terms of talking to the health department, looking at county data, looking at hospitalization rates.
Other district changes allow students and staff to return to school faster than before. The previous return to school guidelines led to extended absences for many.
Due to a number of cases and staffing limits, maintaining our current procedures has become impossible.
Individuals now only have to isolate for 5 days after a positive COVID diagnosis, down from the previous 10. They're able to return on day 6 with a negative test. The type of acceptable test has also been expanded to include rapid antigen tests. MCCSC had only accepted the more accurate PCR tests, but finding one quickly became difficult.
The advisory committee is doing the best they can to balance what is accessible locally without having to go to other counties to keep our kids in school.
Burton says she understands the need to be in school. Her kids are getting a bit stir-crazy at home, but making that decision has just become more difficult. For Indiana News Desk, I'm Mitch Legan.
Well, just under 3,000 Hoosiers remain hospitalized with COVID-19. That number has been creeping downward from the record highs we saw 2 weeks ago. Almost 3/4 of those hospitalized with the virus are unvaccinated, and that number jumps to around 90% for those in intensive care units. Health experts continue to stress vaccines are the best protection against the virus as positive cases remain high due to the Omicron variant.